Where is Australia's gold?
Senator Rennick.
Hi guys, how are you going? And just to confirm, I am speaking with bankers and not meteorologists and scientists.
Yes.
Academics. Okay, thank you. Is the RBA aware that the Deutsche Bank had to settle a price-fixing litigation, and basically it had to be settled because the plaintiffs accused both Deutsche Bank, the Bank of Nova Scotia, Barclays, HSBC and Societe Generale of manipulating prices of gold, gold futures and options and gold derivatives through twice-a-day meetings to set the so-called London gold fixing?
Yes, I'm aware of that, Senator.
Yep, and you're also aware that JP Morgan had to pay a $920 million fine over misconduct of market manipulation in regards to trading metals and Treasury securities?
Yes, I am, Senator.
With that in mind, I noticed that in the report that you sent me, and I appreciate you sending that through report, that you mentioned that there is the existence of fake gold bars had been detected at the Bank of England in the past and by the presence of duplicate refiner serial numbers. Has this issue ever been raised with the Treasurer? And given the serious nature of this statement, why are we still keeping gold with the Bank of England, who have clearly failed in their custodianship of our gold?
To answer your question, no, we haven't raised it with the Treasurer.
You haven't raised it with the Treasurer?
No.
Okay, thank you. I note also that those some of those bars, a lot of those bars have been refined since 2015. Given that we haven't bought or sold any gold in 20 years, how is it that this gold's only been refined in the last 5 years, and where exactly were our gold bars prior to 2015?
So they were at the Bank of England prior to 2015, Senator. I mean, we gave you the information earlier to an earlier question of yours about how they, when bars got where. I don't quite understand your question. Sorry.
Well, why would they be refined? I mean, once a gold bar's a gold bar, why would you refine it again?
Because I think and I'm happy to provide this a more detailed answer subsequent. My understanding is that over time, bars don't maintain their full value. Gold dust sort of flakes off and whatever, and every once in a while the bars are refined.
Okay. Who audits the Bank of England and their reserves? And does the RBA get a copy of the audit report? And does the audit report cross-check balances and serial numbers of gold bars with other counterparties to ensure that there is no double counting of gold bars?
Sorry, do we get a copy of the Bank of England's audit?
Yeah,
the general audit, you mean?
Yeah, do you get a copy of the Bank of England's audit of its gold reserves? And a statement from their auditors saying that they've actually checked all their parties and counter statements with their serial numbers to ensure that the same serial numbers aren't being given to different counterparties, hence the duplicate counting of gold.
I'll have to come back to you on the exact answer to this, but in terms of do we get a report of their audit of their custodial services to which we provide versus the Bank of England's holding of their own reserves, I'm not so sure on the latter. On the former, I'll come back to you. Sorry, I don't think we get the latter. On the former, I'll come back to you. Yeah,
I guess the reason why the latter is so important is that we need to see that the Bank of England themselves are being audited, not just our gold bars in the Bank of England, but the entire...
Are the Bank of England's audited? Yes, they're required. Just as we're audited, they're also audited. Do I get a copy of their audit report? No.
Yeah, sure. Given the information that I've revealed today, do you think that maybe we should think about bringing our gold home?
As I said to you, Senator, I'm comfortable with the arrangements as they have, as they currently stand in terms of service.
Okay, and are you aware...
I'm not concerned that the Bank of England has stolen our gold, Senator, if that's what you're getting at.
Well, I mean, the presence of duplicate gold serial bar numbers, I'll be the judge of that. Given that you yourself haven't actually been over there to count it, all of it, 100% of it any time in the last 20 years, I don't think you can say that. So I'll be the judge of that. Are you aware of the value of Australia's gold exports in the 2021 financial year?
Not off the top of my head, but
Well,
we have that information.
Yeah, it's $28 billion. It's our third biggest mineral export, and it basically employs, between 70 to 100,000 people. Now, given that there has been, proven gold manipulation of the gold market, it's worth pondering the fact that if prices are being constrained, let's say, for example, by 50%, that could be at $14 billion in lost revenue exports. And if you assume that profit went to the bottom line, that's another $4 billion just in company tax. So it is very important to ensure that the gold market is properly accounted for. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree.
So to find out where Australia's gold is, let's first turn to the RBA's own website. That's Reserve Bank of Australia's own website. And we come here to about our gold holdings. So how much gold does the Reserve Bank hold? Well, you can see that the RBA claims to be holding 80 tonnes, with the full value of these holdings recorded as an asset on the RBA's own balance sheet. Now, you can see that it says that the RBA's position in gold has not changed since 97, and we'll talk about what happened in 97 shortly. But it also says here that the RBA also publishes data on Australia's official reserve assets, which aligns with the reporting of the IMF and their guidelines. And since 2015, any gold that's been lent by the RBA, Is the RBA lending gold? They sure are. Is recorded as a forward inflow in foreign currency in the official reserves data and excluded from the RBA's physical gold holdings. Similarly, any gold that the RBA has borrowed, the RBA borrows gold, is excluded from the RBA's physical gold holdings in the official reserves data. So where is the Reserve Bank's gold stored? Well, almost the entirety of the RBA's physical gold holdings, they say 99.9%, is stored in the United Kingdom at the Bank of England. The Bank of England holds the RBA's gold as bailey, legal and beneficial title to the gold remains with the RBA. A very small amount of gold is stored at the Reserve Bank's head office in Sydney. London is the world's largest trading centre for gold. Storing gold at the Bank of England allows the RBA to readily access this market. Why? They haven't done nothing since 97. Anyway, we'll come to 97 in a sec. Anyway, as most gold market participants prefer to take delivery in London, the Bank of England provides a very secure and cost-effective storage location for central banks and other market participants. The Bank of England only accepts bars which complies with the LBMA's good delivery standards. The RBA's gold is held at the Bank of England in an allocated account, such as individual bars with specific bar serial numbers, and are attributed to the RBA. In an unallocated gold account, the customer does not own specific bars, but has an unsecured entitlement to a share of gold held in a pool. The Reserve Bank has processes in place to ensure that its specified gold bars are maintained appropriately. I'd really like to know what that is. Inventory reconciliation is undertaken periodically. Really? And after any movements on the RBA's account, additionally, the Reserve Bank audits its gold processes. Really, does it? Including gold holdings at the Bank of England. So does the RBA earn income from its gold? Well, gains or losses on the RBA's gold holdings mostly arise from changes in the spot value of gold. However, yes, their gold holdings in a vault do not accrue interest. To earn some ongoing income, the RBA may lend its gold. For more than 30 years, the RBA has participated in the gold lending market, at times lending almost all of its gold holdings. Graph 1, which we'll have a look at in a second. Over the past decade, the RBA's gold lending activity has been lower. A reduction in gold producers' hedging demands, combined with greater willingness of other investors to lend their gold, has lowered the returns available from gold lending. So we can see that the RBA at some point in time was almost lending out all its gold. Now, who was it lending out to? Well, those of you who follow John Adams has done some work on this, and I will just refer you over to him. I won't divulge any more into that, but apparently there's some kind of mint that may have been borrowing the RBA's gold. Why would that be? A summary of gold lending activity is recorded in the RBA's annual report each year. In the early 2000s, the RBA earned approximately 15 to 20 million per year from gold lending. This declined sharply after 2006 due to both reduced lending activity and lower lending rates. In the 2021 financial year, earnings from gold lending activity amounted to 1.3 million. Mate, this is peanuts. So how does the RBA lend gold? Any gold lending by the RBA is fully collateralized by cash, either foreign currency or Australian dollars, or has the benefit of a government guarantee of the borrower's payment obligations to the RBA. At the inception of each loan, the RBA and its counterparty will agree the maturity date of the transaction, the value of the gold to be exchanged, and the interest rate payable. The RBA requires the redelivery of gold it has lent to be in the form of physical delivery of gold to the RBA's allocated account at the Bank of England, which may be affected by a book entry transfer of serial number gold bars from an allocated account held at the Bank of England to the RBA's allocated account held at the Bank of England. The interest on a gold loan is paid in cash, not gold. Where gold is lent or borrowed in exchange for cash, the interest rate will be applied to the cash amount owing at the maturity of the loan. And here's the big kicker. Who does the RBA lend to? The commercial relationships the RBA has with participants in the gold market are confidential. Oh, they're confidential. The same is true of the commercial relationships used in managing other official reserve assets. The Reserve Bank's credit risk on its gold transaction is managed by only dealing with counterparties that meet strict eligibility criteria, such as minimum credit ratings from major ratings agencies. Counterparties are also required to have entered into ISDA master agreement with the RBA. The Reserve Bank conducts its activities in the gold market in a manner that consists with the principles of the Global Precious Metals Code. So once again, I suggest, and I'll try to find John Adams' work where he links the amount of gold lent by the RBA and another organisation, a mint. I won't name which mint. Don't want to get in trouble. I don't need any lawyers' letters on my door. Which has borrowed gold. And yeah, it does kind of match up. And when we have a look at this article, dated the 4th of July 1997 in the Financial Review, Reserve dumps gold. The Reserve Bank of Australia has sold 2/3 of its gold reserves in a move likely to be seen as a vote of no confidence in one of Australia's principal exports. The sales, worth more than $2 billion, were conducted stealthily over the past 6 months, during which time the gold price had fallen from around $360 an ounce to less than $335 an ounce. At an average price of around $350 an ounce, the sale has given the bank a profit of $2.1 billion. So there you go. In 1997, the Reserve Bank of Australia sold 2/3 of its gold reserves for an average price of $350 an ounce, which gave it $2.1 billion. By the way, they bought it at the $35 an ounce mark. So they think, how good are we? But how much? So 2/3. What are we talking in terms of numbers here? So when we go to the RBA's own website and we have a look at the official sales of gold from the 3rd of July 97, over the past 6 months, the Reserve Bank has sold 167 tonnes of gold, reducing its holdings from 247 tonnes to 80 tonnes. So 167 tonnes, what's that, about 5.9 billion ounces, if I'm correct? And at today's price of gold in Australian dollars is $2,644. Well, that's $15.6 billion. So they've got 80 tonnes at the moment. They sold 167 tonnes. And they pocketed, $2 billion, just over $2 billion. Where today, had they not sold it, that would be worth $15.6 billion today. So back to the Fin Review article. Last night, the Reserve Bank said it reviewed the costs and benefits of holding gold and decided that, while there was a case to hold some gold as a contingency against unforeseen events, keeping 1/5 of its international reserves in gold was no longer justified. Ain't that funny how a lot of central banks have been increasing their reserves in gold in the last decade, and in particular the last several years, while the RBA has done nothing for 20 years. Done nothing. sold it here and they haven't bought or sold any more since. Well, I guess we can say we're a little bit better than Canada, but really, do we want to compare ourselves to Canada? Well, I guess we got to. We're almost just as bad in many ways, aren't we? And the treasurer at the time, Peter Costello, said that gold no longer plays a significant role in the international financial system. Well, we're soon going to find out whether it does or not, aren't we? And what did the RBA do with the proceeds? Well, we can see here that they actually bought government bonds. So they sold the gold and bought government bonds in foreign government bonds denominated in US dollars, Japanese yen, and Deutschmarks. And the RBA gave an annual dividend payment to the government, which increased by $100 million, which was quite a bit back then. So I won't go through this article dated the 21st of November 2018. Just bring back the gold. RBA responds as conspiracy theories swirl around Australia's missing gold. And here John Adams and others talk a little bit about Australia's gold. What I'll do, I'll put a link in the description to this one. You can read this article in your own time. So if you found this video interesting, check out this article, and if I can find some work that John Adams has done, I'll put a link in the description as well. So what do you guys think? Here we got the RBA 97 sold, 2/3 of its gold. Thought they were brilliant. They haven't done anything since 1997. We've only got 80 tons now. Other central banks around the world have been buying gold like no tomorrow. And our RBA thinks owning government bonds is a much better way. And we really have no idea whether our gold is there or not in the Bank of England. There's a lot of rumours about that. And as I said, recommend reading this article. So anyway, if you like this video, guys, please hit that like button. Really do appreciate it. Love to see your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you again on another episode of Finance Uncut.